to my main point, you have to ask the right questions. You have to have the right hypothesis
Mhm.
to try to disprove, or science doesn't work. And the better the question, and Sasho's really good at that. Sasho is really good at asking a question that might lead to an answer that might help me as a teacher. And they've got guys out there that are asking questions at the World Scientific Congress of Golf. I'm listening to a guy talk for 15 minutes about the last 2 years of his life that he's been in a lab asking a question. And I'm thinking, my gosh, this guy's wasted his time. I mean, he's a silo one guy. He's trained. He knows how to do an experiment. But boy, we didn't need an answer to that. We really didn't. And that's a shame. That's an example of a silo one guy who thinks he's asking a good question, but kind of fell short. And they exist for sure.
There are certain people, and I would classify Sasha as one where they are, and Paul Wood and Eric Henriksen, and there's more. Um,
Yep.
but those guys come to mind right away. Obviously, they've been on the show a number of times, and I know them. You know them. I think not only their ability to that they've been in those fields for a long time and they've excelled at them, they're very good, but they, at least when I've talked to them, they have never been, well, it has to be this way. It's
Right.
like, here's what we found, and here's why we think this is the best way to get there. I mean, there's a million ways to get from here to Anchorage, Alaska. You can
Right.
fly, you can walk, you can drive. There's going to be certain ones that are probably more efficient than others.
Right.
But they're never, so as good as they are, they're never saying there's no way that can work. And the first time I met Sasho was at coach camp. I think it was 7, 8 years ago. And I had emailed him prior about his looking at the whole study in putting. And we discussed some things that I had read on or studied on for a number of 7, 8 years. I was reading on neuroscience and putting because that was my Achilles heel when I played. And it just ate at me that was, I think, the thing that kept me back from getting to levels that I wanted to. It was so frustrating. But anyway, at lunch, we had a very good discussion about neuroscience and eye positions and brain perception and so on in putting. And not one point did he say there's no way that's. In fact, he was very interested in it. And I said, I'll do the
Mhm.
study on it. And then I got some health issues and then we got COVID and I never got to send him the studies. But for him to sit with me without knowing who I was, and obviously Sasha was Sasha McKenzie at that time, I thought that was to me, as someone who was getting back into the coaching scene at a more public level within the industry and getting out of my own world, that was pretty impressive. And I have not seen that change in him, even with the acclaim that he's gotten, which is very impressive. As impressive to me as anything else that he's done.
A couple of weeks ago, I was talking to him and Chris Como. I joked around that, what level, TPI has their 1, 2, 3 levels. And I go, what level am I on, the Sasha McKenzie biomechanics, what level? And I go, level 500, one level for each phone call that I've made to you in the last, 10 years. And he responded, way higher than 500, buddy, way higher than 500. But every time I get a little, I get a little fearful calling Sasha. I don't like to call him too much because I don't want to bother him, but because he's got a family and a life and a job and the stack. But when I do call him, I'm a little fearful of, taking up his time and asking him a question that I might have already asked before, or asking a question that he's going to be mad at me about because I should understand it, but it never happens. He is always willing to take a few minutes on the phone and explain it to me, and that's not everybody, but more often than not, that's how these guys are. They want to be asked questions, sometimes stupid questions like I ask, or good questions. They really, because they start thinking about it more, and they figure out the next best question to ask. And so hopefully from little questions that I've given him over time, maybe I've pushed him in a certain direction. Probably not. But I mean, he consults with Ping. He consults, obviously, he's done Rapsodo and several other companies in the past. And I know his experience in the golf business has made him ask better questions. The same with Frederick Tuxen at the show. 1,000 teachers are standing in that little crowded hallway asking him questions about, hey, why don't you put this into the, and he writes it all down, and that's how they get better. They get critiqued and they make things better, and that's why I appreciate those guys so much.